No way for you to be authentically yourself without giving up something. There's no way for you to be authentic without negotiating your notions of professionalism. I wanted to do and how I felt in those situations. So it's just like me being vulnerable and thinking about the up and down of the backlash and the affirmation of going to the White House and what that means to me moving forward. So the more I elevate and the more that white organizations, white corporations acknowledge me from a black radical tradition, it's like, hey, you gotta ask yourself, why are you making all these white folks feel so comfortable to keep on inviting you in these places if you're saying you're speaking truth to power? I think that is a legitimate question to ask. Regardless of, it's like, bro, it's the White House. I think it's still a question to ask. I know how I was able to get here is being able to think critically about comfort, discomfort, and acceptance.
Yeah, that's real. Y'all go ahead and give a hand for that. That was good. Now, I think it's really interesting though, you brought up, walking into the White House. I know you personally, I know we had a conversation beforehand. I think walking into spaces and being really authentic, regardless of where you're going and speaking on who you are, is really, really important, especially talking about imposed branding and double consciousness. Now, oftentimes, when dealing with double consciousness as men of color, we are told to show up and just be ourselves, usually. But on the other hand, we're also told, you're not supposed to speak like that. But that's not how you're supposed to dress, in fear that we could diminish or lose opportunities, whether that's a new job interviews, new opportunities, etc. And that can be very confusing for a young man of color. So what does it look like to show up authentically black or authentically as a man of color? Because I know for me, I'm from Florida. I got my goals in, got my grills in, but at the same time, I got my suit. Now, my mom be telling me, Junior, don't put them goals in when you go in, Yeah. But I know for me, I'm being authentic. The moment I open my mouth, I'm gonna speak my truth. Yeah. I'm gonna speak my purpose, you're gonna know who I am. You gotta, you know what I'm saying? You gotta buzz down chain, we see you blinging, but then you open your mouth, it's like, okay, this man speaking substance. So I really wanna know, how do we find that balance? As young black men, when we hear those things, it's like, okay, am I doing too much or should I do a little bit more? Like, what's that look like and how would you deal with that?
Response is just figuring out two things. What are your non-negotiables and what are you willing to risk? Once you're able to recognize these are the boundaries or the parameter and how I navigate, I feel like that's what it is. You gotta work with that framework. I know my principles. I know what I'm not gonna bend, break, or fold on. I don't give a damn who you is and what you got going on. If you beat me in this debate or you give me to think otherwise, we can do it, but otherwise, I stand on what I said. I said what I said, that's how I feel. There's other things I'm willing to risk. I understand what I'm willing to risk politically, socially, economically. I understand I'm willing to risk being alienated. I'm willing to risk missing an opportunity and resource for what I stand for. But I have a clear understanding. To me, this is knowledge of self. I know what's non-negotiable. This is what it is. This is what I believe. This is what I think. I know the other things is like for me to navigate, for me to get resources, I'm gonna take this risk. I'm gonna take that risk. This is what I mean by being a hustler. You see what I'm saying? And to me, it's just really recognizing that there's no way for you to be authentically yourself without giving up something. There's no way for you to be authentic without negotiating your notions of professionalism. Right now, I'm working on a book about how literally people of color and minorities have to negotiate professionalism when it comes to us being authentic. I know that in order for me to be seen as professional in certain spaces and places, I have to cut off parts of myself to be fit in a little box. I'm not willing to do that, which means there are gonna be particular boxes I never get the opportunity to see. You got goals in your mouth. There's gonna be certain people that regardless of how poetic you speak, no matter how nice your suit is, when they see the grills, you get written off. You have to recognize that you're making a choice every day to rock your grill and knowing, hey, there's gonna be certain people that rock and jive with it. There's gonna be certain people that throw the baby out with the bathwater before they even get to me. I already know that I speak with Ebonics and slang. I know I'm gonna cuss a little bit. I know I'm country as hell. You feel me? I know I'm gonna dress how I wanna dress. I recognize that even when you look at the other, nominees, it's gonna be particular opportunities they get that I'm not gonna get because I'm not willing to say or do different things. It's not saying they selling out or anything like that, but I understand what it means to be palatable. I understand what it means to be digestible. And with that being said, peep game, I'm an acquired taste. I ain't for everybody. This don't mean I'm gonna be an asshole. This don't mean I'm gonna go out of my way to be rude. When I say I'm an acquired taste, that's me acknowledging the substance I've made of. I'm not gonna add no sugar or no seasoning to make me more digestible to you. I'm not for you. I'm an acquired taste. And being an acquired taste, you gotta sit in there. It's a lot of foods that people eat the first time that don't like it, they come around. It's a lot of folks that eat food for the first time and make the decision for the rest of their life, they don't like that. Knowledge of self to me is really being able to see this.
Really. That is real. And I really love the fact that you touched on the foundation. I think a lot of times when we do hear these conversations with people older than us or people trying to pour into us, it's like you have to have a solid foundation no matter what. You know what I'm saying? No matter what circumstance you're in, a lot of times you're gonna fall back on the only thing that you know, the only thing that makes you who you are. And with that comes educating yourself on who you are. So this model that you got, education is elevation, research over me search. This is a model that he says a lot on TikTok. I know a lot of your followers, they hear it, they just, yeah, that's all. I know me and my brothers, when we seen it, we're like, me search, I don't even know what that is, but me search, you hear me? Like, we talking, but like, what does that motto mean to you? You know what I'm saying? Every time that you say it at the end of your videos, what does education over is elevation and then research over research, what is that for you?
A lot of people make claims based off their own personal experiences, or they try to make universalized statements based off of how their perception is. To me, that's me search. Me search is making claims that or declarations that's based off of your feelings and your emotions, or that's based off of a common, thing you've been taught in your family or been taught in your community. These are not empirics. So when I say research over me search, I'm letting you to recognize that the way in which we experience the world does not dictate the way the world is. And recognizing a lot of people talk out the side of their neck and get real passionate based off of some pseudo claim about gender or race, or that's me search. Research is being able to recognize the limits of your wisdom or recognize the limits of your knowledge. The educationist elevation is understanding how when we're able to learn about ourselves and the way the world works, we can elevate ourselves. It really comes from a Dead Prez, I think They Schools, the song is called. It's an old rap underground group. At the end of the song, they talk about, hey, if the education ain't elevating me, then F that education. First time I heard that, I was 19 years old. The song hard, where they literally going through the ways in which us as Black people in the government has a conflict of interest in us being elevated or progressed and us being able to be seen as prisoners. Start being able to think this song is outlining the way in which the school system and the foods and the prisons all ran by the same individuals. So when I'm talking about the school to prison pipeline, we get into that. So to me, education is elevation, is acknowledging all the ways in which we've been miseducated and all the ways in which we must re-educate ourselves to get out of miseducation. But it's not a negation of how Black folks go to school and get recruited for the pen. It's not negating how, people go to school and get traumatized for their learning disabilities. It's not thinking of, it's not ignoring that. As a matter of fact, it's being accounting for those things consciously and educating ourselves about it. But that's what education is elevation and that other one mean. Like I'm talking fast now, so I'm stutter when I say it. But y'all know what I'm talking about.
No, that's amazing. Another hand, y'all. Another hand for that. And like I said, I really do like that because you're talking about knowing yourself, and I think understanding that you never know enough. You know what I'm saying? Or you never know too much. So being able to understand, okay, I want that knowledge, whether it's on myself or things that I don't know, but then also humbling yourself to know that I don't know everything. You know what I'm saying? And I think spaces, especially like this, the Men of Color Symposium, there's people in here, there's conversations that you can have with people that you will learn so much from. Everybody, every last person in here is an experience. When you speak to them, whatever knowledge, and I know Keon was talking about it earlier, they say there's no shortcuts to life, but when you speak to somebody who's been in rooms that you've never been in, that is a shortcut right there. That's a shortcut to the making. So once again, y'all, I want y'all to go ahead and give a round of applause for the Conscious League.